Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the very bottom of the world. The air around you is so cold that it does not just nip at your skin. It feels like it is trying to turn your very breath into glass. Above you, the sun is performing a slow, golden retreat. For weeks, it has been dipping lower and lower toward the horizon, and today, it will sink below the edge of the earth one last time. It will not return for months. As the shadows grow long and purple across the endless white plains, almost every living thing is leaving. The whales are swimming north toward warmer currents. The seals are keeping close to the edge of the shifting sea ice, ready to dive into the deep. Even the tiny petrels have taken to the sky, flying away from the coming darkness. But as the rest of the world flees, one creature is doing the exact opposite. Out on the edge of the frozen ocean, a line of shadows appears. They are moving away from the water. They are walking deeper into the white heart of the continent. These are emperor penguins, and they are beginning a journey that seems to defy every rule of survival. They are walking into the teeth of the deadliest winter on our planet. This journey is not a casual stroll. For an emperor penguin, walking is a labor of love and a test of sheer endurance. Their bodies are built for the water, where they move like silver streaks, flying through the waves with incredible grace. But on land, they are out of their element. They waddle with a heavy, rhythmic sway, rocking from side to side to make the most of every step. When the snow is soft and deep, they drop onto their white bellies and use their strong, clawed feet to push themselves forward. This is called tobogganing. It looks like a game, but it is a vital way to save energy. They have a long way to go. Some colonies must travel 70, 80, or even 100 miles across the ice to reach their destination. There are no maps here. There are no landmarks to guide them, only an ancient, internal compass that tells them exactly where they need to reach. They are looking for a very specific kind of ice, a place called fast ice. This is ice that is frozen solid to the edge of the land, held firm so it will not break away and drift into the sea during the storms to come. You might wonder why any animal would choose this. Why leave the ocean, where the food is plentiful, to walk into a frozen desert where there is nothing to eat and no shelter from the wind? To understand their choice, we have to look at the world through their eyes. For a penguin, the blue water of the Southern Ocean is a place of life, but it is also a place of terror. Just beneath the surface, the ocean is a hunting ground. Massive leopard seals, with teeth like jagged saws, patrol the ice edges. Pods of killer whales, the smartest hunters in the sea, wait for a penguin to make a single mistake. In the water, an emperor penguin is never truly safe. But out here, on the vast, silent sheets of the interior ice, there are no predators. No leopard seal can crawl this far across the frozen plains. No polar bears exist in this part of the world to hunt them. By walking into the cold, the penguins are buying safety with their own suffering. They are choosing the freeze because it is the only place on Earth where they can be truly alone to raise the next generation. As the penguins march, the landscape begins to change. The sky turns a deep, bruised indigo. The wind starts to pick up, carrying with it a fine, stinging dust of ice crystals. This is the beginning of the katabatic winds. These are unique to Antarctica, born on the high polar plateaus where the air becomes so cold and heavy that it literally falls down the slopes of the continent, gaining speed until it hits the coast like a freight train. These winds can reach speeds of 200 miles per hour, fast enough to knock a person off their feet and freeze exposed skin in seconds. The penguins feel the first bite of this wind against their feathers. They do not flinch. Their feathers are the densest of any bird, packed so tightly together that they form a suit of armor against the cold. Beneath their skin, a thick layer of blubber acts as a biological furnace, keeping their internal organs warm even as the outside temperature drops to 40 degrees below zero. Eventually, the long line of travelers reaches a place that looks no different from the rest of the ice to our eyes, but to them, it is home. This is the breeding colony, one by one, then in dozens, Then in thousands, the penguins arrive. The silence of the frozen desert is suddenly shattered. It becomes a place of incredible noise and energy. This is a crucial moment. Many of these birds have been here before. They are looking for the partners they stood with last year. In a crowd of 20,000 birds that all look identical to us, finding a single individual seems impossible. But the penguins have a secret. Each bird has a voice that is as unique as a fingerprint. They begin to sing. It is a strange, metallic sound, a series of pulses and trills that cut through the whistling wind. Scientists have discovered that emperor penguins use a special voice system. They have a vocal organ that can produce two different frequencies at the same time. This creates a complex beat and a specific rhythm that can be heard even over the roar of a storm. A male will stand tall, puff out his chest, and let out a long, trumpeting call. He waits, listening. Then, from somewhere in the middle of the crowd, a female hears the one sound she has been waiting for. She calls back. They move toward each other, weaving through the thousands of other birds, guided only by the sound of a voice. When they finally meet, they stand chest to chest, bowing their heads in a beautiful, slow-motion dance. They have found each other. For a brief moment, in the middle of the most hostile environment on Earth, there is a sense of warmth and connection. But this celebration is short-lived. The clock is ticking. The birds have arrived at the colony with bodies full of stored fat, but they will not eat again for a very long time. The males, in particular, are facing a monumental task. They have already walked 4 days or weeks, and now they must prepare for a fast that will last through the entire winter. By the time they return to the sea to eat again, some of these males will have lost nearly half of their body weight. They are living on their own reserves, burning their fat like candles to keep their hearts beating in the dark. As the last sliver of the sun finally vanishes below the horizon, the true Antarctic winter begins. This is the start of the polar night. For the next few months, there will be no day. There will only be the stars, the ghostly glow of the aurora australis dancing in the sky, and the endless, crushing cold. The penguins settle in. The couples stay close, reinforcing their bond before the most difficult part of their journey begins. They are no longer just individuals. They are part of a massive, living machine designed to survive the unsurvivable. The noise of the arrival begins to die down. The singing fades as the birds realize they must save their energy. The wind is becoming a constant roar now, carving the snow into sharp ridges called sastrugi. These ridges look like frozen waves, some of them several feet high, making the ground beneath the penguins' feet uneven and treacherous. One slip, one injury, could be fatal. In this place, there is no room for error. If a bird cannot keep up, if it cannot stay with the group, the cold will claim it in a matter of hours. We are watching the beginning of a great sacrifice. These penguins have turned their backs on the bounty of the ocean. They have left behind the light and the warmth. They have marched into a kingdom of ice where nothing is supposed to live. They have done all of this for a single purpose, to ensure that when the sun finally returns months from now, there will be a new generation here to take to the sea. They are the guardians of life in a land of death. As the temperature continues to plummet and the darkness becomes absolute, the penguins turn their backs to the wind and wait. The long walk is over, but the true test of the emperor has only just begun. The air is turning into a hurricane of ice, and the quiet of the deep winter is falling over the colony. They are alone now, at the end of the world, huddled together against the coming storm. It is a beautiful, terrifying sight, a testament to the incredible lengths life will go to keep going, even in the coldest dark. After that long, grueling march across the ice, the colony has finally reached its destination. But as the wind begins to howl and the sun dips below the horizon for months at a time, you might find yourself asking a very simple question: why? Why would any creature choose to start a family here, in the middle of a place where the air can freeze your breath before it even leaves your lips? It looks like a mistake. It looks like a desperate act of madness. But as we look closer at the world of the emperor penguin, we start to see that there is a brilliant, hidden logic to this freezing landscape. This is not a mistake. It is a masterpiece of timing. Think for a moment about the other birds of the world. Most of them wait for the warmth. They wait for the flowers to bloom and the insects to buzz before they lay their eggs. If the emperor penguins did that, if they waited for the gentle Antarctic summer to start their families, it would actually lead to a disaster. A chick born in the warmth of January would be ready to leave the nest just as the winter storms returned in May. A young, small penguin, still learning how to swim and hunt, would be cast out into the darkest, coldest time of the year. That would be a death sentence. So, the emperors play a much longer game. They choose to suffer now so that their children can thrive later. By laying their eggs in the heart of the winter, they are ensuring that their chicks will grow up and become independent at the exact moment the world turns from a desert of ice into a land of plenty. They are timing the birth of their children to match the great spring melt. In a few months, the solid ice beneath our feet will break apart. The ocean will open up, and the sun will trigger a massive explosion of life. Billions of tiny shrimp called krill will fill the water, and the sea will be bursting with fish. That is the world the parents want their chicks to enter. To get there, they must first survive the frost. The transition from the march to the nursery happens in a single, delicate moment. The mother has done the impossible task of producing a large, heavy egg while living on her own body fat. She's exhausted. She has used up almost all her energy. If she stays any longer, she will starve. So, she must hand over the future of the family to the father. This is one of the most stressful moments in the natural world. The egg is full of liquid life, and the ground is a sheet of ice that can reach 60 degrees below zero. If that egg touches the ice for even a few seconds, the liquid inside will freeze and the life will vanish instantly. The father moves in close. He's steady and patient. He gently rolls the egg onto his own feathered feet, lifting it away from the frozen ground. Then, he pulls a special fold of skin, a warm, thick pouch, over the egg. Inside that pouch, it is a balmy 38 degrees Celsius. Just a few inches away, on the other side of his feathers, the temperature is low enough to crack steel. He is a living thermos, a tiny island of tropical warmth in a world of absolute zero. Once the transfer is complete, the mother must leave. She has a journey of nearly 100 miles to reach the open ocean. She is hungry and weak, but she must find the sea to bring back food for the chick that hasn't even hatched yet. Now, the father is truly alone. For the next 60 days, he will stand exactly where he is. He will not go for a walk. He will not go for a swim. He will not eat a single bite of food. He will live entirely on the fat he stored up months ago. He will lose nearly half of his body weight by the time this is over. He's the ultimate guardian, standing in the dark, holding the future on his toes. But why here? Why not find a slightly warmer spot on the edge of the continent? This brings us to the secret advantage of the frost. It is what scientists call a predatory gap. In the summer, Antarctica is a dangerous place for a small, fluffy chick. Great birds called skuas and giant petrels patrol the skies, looking for any easy meal. In the water, leopard seals and killer whales wait near the ice edge. But in the deep, dark winter, these predators are gone. The skuas have flown north to warmer lands. The seals are miles away where the ice is thin. By choosing the most hostile environment on Earth, the emperor penguin has found the one place where its children are safe from being hunted. The cold is their fortress. It is a shield that keeps the rest of the world away. They have traded the comfort of warmth for the security of isolation. Here, in the middle of a frozen wasteland, there is no one to bother them. There are no teeth in the dark, no claws from the sky. There is only the wind and the snow. For a young chick, the greatest threat isn't a predator. It is simply the temperature. And as long as the father stays standing, the chick is safe. As the weeks pass, the fathers form a giant huddle. This is a marvel of social cooperation. They don't fight for the best spot. Instead, they move in a slow, continuous wave. The penguins on the outside of the huddle take the brunt of the freezing wind, but slowly they shuffle toward the center, where it is warm and shielded. The ones who were in the warm center eventually move to the outside to take their turn protecting the group. It is a giant, rotating heart of warmth. By working together, they reduce their heat loss by half. They are sharing their lives to save their children. Inside the egg, a miracle is happening. While the father shivers in the dark, the chick is growing. It is using the nutrients from the yolk to build muscles, feathers, and a voice. Even before it hatches, the chick begins to call out from inside the shell. The father hears this tiny, muffled sound through his skin. He answers back with a deep, trumpeting call. They are learning each other's voices in the middle of a blizzard. This bond is vital. When the mother returns in a few weeks, the colony will be a chaotic sea of thousands of identical-looking penguins. They will have to find each other by sound alone. The logic of the frost is hard, and it is unforgiving. If a father trips, or if he gets too weak to hold the egg, there is no second chance. Nature does not offer many apologies in Antarctica, but this system has worked for millions of years. It is a testament to the power of evolution. It shows us that life doesn't always look for the easiest path. Sometimes, life looks for the path that no one else can follow. By mastering the cold, the emperor penguin has claimed a kingdom that no other animal wants. As we look at these fathers, standing silent and still under the glowing aurora australis, we see the true cost of survival. It is a quiet, heavy burden. They are waiting for the sun to return. They are waiting for the ice to thin. Most of all, they are waiting for the moment when their long fast ends and the next generation takes its first breath. The silence of the Antarctic winter is not a silence of death. It is a silence of intense, focused waiting. In the coming weeks, the light will slowly begin to return to the horizon. A thin line of purple and gold will appear, signaling the end of the long night. But for now, the logic of the frost remains the law of the land. The fathers will continue to stand, the eggs will continue to grow, and the great southern ocean will continue to churn beneath the ice, preparing for the explosion of life that is just around the corner. The penguins have made their bet against the winter. They have put everything they have into this one moment of timing, and soon, we will see if that bet pays off. The story of the emperor penguin is a story of incredible physical strength, but it is also a story of extreme intelligence. Not the kind of intelligence that solves math problems, but the kind of biological wisdom that understands the rhythms of the planet. They know when the ice will break. They know when the fish will arrive. They have mapped the entire calendar of the Antarctic continent into their very DNA. They are not victims of the cold. They are the masters of it. And as the first cracks begin to appear in the winter sky, the nursery is almost ready to open. The hardest part is nearly over, but for the new life inside those eggs, the adventure is only just beginning. As we leave behind the simple logic of the frost, we find ourselves standing at the very edge of what is possible for life on Earth. We have seen why these birds have chosen this path, but now we must look at how they survive the impossible. Imagine for a moment that you are standing on a vast, featureless plain of ice. There is no cover. There are no trees. There are no caves to hide in. There is only the wind, and the wind here is a monster. It does not just blow. It screams across the frozen desert at 100 miles per hour, carrying with it a cold so sharp it feels like glass against the skin. When the temperature drops to 60 degrees below zero, the air itself becomes a predator. In this world, a single penguin standing alone is a dead penguin. If a bird is separated from the group for even a few hours, the cold will reach deep into its core, slowing its heart and stealing its life. But these birds do not stand alone. They have found a way to change the rules of biology. They have become a living battery. As the sun vanishes 4 months on end, the male emperor penguins begin to draw closer together. This is not a random gathering. It is the beginning of a complex, highly organized machine made of flesh and feathers. At first, you might see just a few dozen birds leaning into one another. But as the storm intensifies, hundreds, then thousands of males begin to pack themselves together so tightly that you can no longer see the ground between them. From a distance, they look like a single, giant, dark shape huddling against the white fury of the storm. This is the huddle. It is perhaps the most sophisticated survival strategy ever evolved by a warm-blooded animal. Think about the physics of what is happening here. Every penguin is a small furnace. They have a thick layer of fat and a coat of feathers that is more like a suit of armor than anything we wear. But even with all that insulation, they are still losing heat to the air. By pressing their bodies together, they drastically reduce the amount of their skin that is exposed to the freezing wind. In a huddle of 3,000 birds, only the penguins on the very outer edge truly feeling the full force of the Antarctic winter. For those in the middle, the world has changed completely. Scientists have used thermal cameras to look inside these huddles, and what they found is staggering. While the outside air is a lethal 60 degrees below zero, the temperature deep inside the huddle can reach nearly 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a tropical paradise in the middle of a frozen hell. If you were to step into the center of that huddle, you would find it as warm as a summer day in Florida. But this heat creates a new problem. If the penguins were to stay perfectly still, the birds in the center would actually begin to overheat. It sounds impossible in Antarctica, but it is true. They are packed so efficiently that the heat cannot escape. The birds in the middle begin to pant. They get stressed by the warmth. Meanwhile, the birds on the windward side, the ones taking the full brunt of the screaming gale, are slowly freezing. Their body temperatures begin to drop. Their energy reserves start to drain away. If this were a simple group of selfish individuals, the birds in the middle would stay where they are, and the birds on the outside would eventually die. If the outer wall of the huddle dies, the wind reaches the inner layers, and the entire colony perishes in a single night. To prevent this, the penguins have developed a social contract that is unique in the animal kingdom. They move, but they do not move in a chaotic way. Recent high-speed filming and mathematical modeling have revealed that the huddle is actually a moving wave. It is a vortex of motion that is almost invisible to the naked eye. Every 30 to 60 seconds, a tiny movement begins. It might start with a single bird on the edge taking a step of just 2 or 3 inches, but that small step triggers a reaction. The bird next to him moves to fill the gap. Then the next bird moves. This creates a slow motion pulse that travels through the entire group. It is like a wave in a stadium, but instead of arms going up, it is entire bodies shifting position. As this wave travels through the huddle, the birds are slowly shuffled. Those on the cold, windward edge gradually work their way toward the center. Those who have spent time in the hot, protected middle are slowly pushed toward the outside. It is a perfect, rotating system of cooperation. No bird is the leader. No bird decides when it is time to move. It is a collective intelligence. Every individual eventually gets a turn in the warm center to recover their strength, and every individual eventually takes their turn as a windbreak for the rest of the colony. This is why we call it a living battery. The huddle stores the collective body heat of thousands of individuals and distributes it fairly, so that no one bird has to bear the full weight of the winter alone. When you look closely at the physics of this movement, it becomes even more incredible. The penguins are packed together with a density of about 10 birds per square meter. They are so close that they are touching on all sides. For the wave to work, the birds have to maintain a very specific distance from one another. If they are too far apart, the heat escapes. If they are too close, they cannot move. They have mastered a balance that human engineers would find difficult to replicate. They use their bodies like bricks to build a wall against the storm, but it is a wall that is constantly breathing and flowing. This cooperation is even more impressive when you realize what is at stake. Each of these males is carrying a precious cargo. Balanced on top of his feet, tucked under a warm fold of skin called the brood pouch, is a single egg. This egg is the future of the colony. If it touches the ice for even a few seconds, the life inside will vanish. So, as they perform this slow, shuffling dance, they must do it with incredible care. They are moving through a crowded, shifting mass of thousands of other birds, in total darkness, in 100-mile-per-hour wind, all while balancing an egg on their toes. It is a feat of coordination that defies belief. There is a deep sense of fairness in the huddle. In many animal groups, the strongest individuals take the best spots. The alpha males would stay in the middle where it is warm, and the weaker ones would be left to freeze on the edges. But that is not what happens here. The math shows that the movement is remarkably equitable. Every bird, regardless of size or strength, follows the same rules. They all participate in the cycle. This is because the penguins seem to instinctively understand a truth that we often forget. In a place this cold, the survival of the individual depends entirely on the survival of the group. If the group fails, everyone dies. There is no room for ego at 60 below zero. Scientists have found that these waves are often triggered by the need to find an equilibrium. If the huddle gets too tight, a wave moves through to loosen it up. If it gets too loose, a wave brings them back together. It is a self-regulating system. Sometimes, you will even see the huddle break apart for a few minutes if the sun happens to come out or the wind dies down. The birds will stand a few inches apart, letting the excess heat escape into the air, before drawing back together the moment the temperature drops again. They are constantly monitoring the thermal state of the colony and adjusting their behavior to keep the living battery charged. This social contract is the only reason the emperor penguin can exist in the interior of Antarctica during the winter. They have no other defense. They have no fire. They have no shelter. They only have each other. As the storm rages outside, the huddle remains a calm, warm sanctuary. You can hear the wind whistling over the tops of their heads, but inside the mass of feathers, it is quiet. The birds often close their eyes and sleep, conserving every possible calorie. They are waiting. They are enduring. They are a wall of life standing against a world of ice. As we watch them, we realize that the huddle is more than just a way to stay warm. It is a testament to the power of unity. In the harshest environment on our planet, these birds have proven that cooperation is a more powerful force than competition. Without this beautiful, slow-motion dance, the ice would be silent. There would be no eggs, no chicks, and no future for the emperor penguin. But because they choose to move as one, because they choose to share their warmth and take their turn in the cold, they turn a frozen wasteland into a place where life can not only survive, but thrive. The living battery is a miracle of nature, a machine made of heartbeats that keeps the flame of life burning in the darkest corner of the world. And as the winter reaches its peak, this machine will be tested to its absolute limit. The storm is far from over, and the greatest challenge for these fathers is yet to come. But for now, held in the warm embrace of their brothers, they wait for the sun to return. As we move deeper into the season, the collective warmth of the huddle becomes more than just a survival strategy. It becomes a quiet, rhythmic pulse in a world that has otherwise stopped moving. This living battery has sustained them through the first waves of the cold, but now, the environment shifts from difficult to nearly impossible. We have reached the heart of the Antarctic winter. For thousands of years, this place has been the most hostile environment on our planet. The sun has long since dipped below the horizon, and it will not return for many weeks. The world here is defined by a deep, heavy blackness, broken only by the cold glimmer of the stars and the haunting greens and purples of the southern lights dancing high above. But the fathers standing on the ice do not look at the sky. They cannot afford to. Their entire universe has shrunk to the size of the few inches beneath their feet. By now, these male emperor penguins have been standing on the ice for over 2 months without a single bite to eat. Think about that for a moment. They arrived in the autumn, sleek and heavy with fat, weighing nearly 90 pounds. Today, they are shadows of their former selves. They have lost almost half of their body weight. Their skin hangs loose beneath their feathers. Their bellies are tucked in. They are essentially living off the memories of the fish and squid they caught months ago. To survive this, their bodies have entered a state that is almost like a waking coma. They have mastered the art of doing nothing. In this deep winter stillness, the penguin's heart is his greatest ally. On a normal day, a penguin's heart beats quickly to power its swimming. But here, in the dark, they slow their heart rate down to a mere flicker. Some individuals can drop their heart rate to as low as 15 or 20 beats per minute. By slowing down the pump, they conserve every precious calorie of energy. They are like a car idling on the last drop of fuel, trying to keep the engine running just long enough for the rescue party to arrive. Every unnecessary movement is a threat. If a penguin gets startled and moves too quickly, he burns through the fat he needs to last another week. This is why they stand so still. They are not just waiting. They are balancing on the very edge of biological possibility. But while the father is nearly dormant, he's carrying a tiny, frantic spark of life. Tucked away in a specialized pouch of skin between his legs and his feet is a single egg. This is the miracle of the emperor penguin. Outside, the temperature can drop to 60 degrees below zero. The wind can howl at over 100 miles per hour, stripping the heat from anything it touches. Yet, just a few inches away, inside that brood pouch, it is a balmy 97 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the same temperature as your own body. The father is maintaining a tropical environment in the middle of a polar nightmare. He's a furnace for his unborn child, fueled by nothing but his own disappearing body fat. If the egg touches the ice for even a few seconds, the life inside will vanish. So, he stands with a grace and a focus that is hard for us to imagine. The way they hold on to this heat is a masterpiece of natural engineering. We often think of feathers as just a way to fly, but for an emperor penguin, they are a high-tech suit of armor. They have the densest feathers of any bird on Earth. There are about 100 feathers packed into every square inch of their skin. At the base of these feathers is a thick layer of downy fluff that traps a layer of air against the body. This air is the real insulator. It acts like the double-paned glass in your windows, preventing the heat of the body from escaping into the cold. In fact, their insulation is so effective that it creates a strange scientific phenomenon. Using thermal cameras, scientists have discovered that the outer surface of a penguin's feathers is actually colder than the surrounding air. Because they are so well insulated, no heat from their bodies reaches the surface of their coat. As they radiate what little heat they have into the clear, dark sky, their feathers drop in temperature until they are colder than the wind blowing past them. This actually helps them stay warm, as they can occasionally absorb a tiny bit of heat from the air around them. It is a counterintuitive trick of physics that allows them to exist in a frozen vacuum. However, there is one place where this insulation fails, and it is by design. They lose more heat through the top of their heads than almost anywhere else on their bodies. But the most incredible part of their biology is found at the very bottom, their feet. You might wonder why a penguin's feet do not freeze solid when they are standing on ice for months at a time. The secret lies in a beautiful bit of plumbing called a countercurrent heat exchanger. The warm blood traveling down from the heart to the feet passes very close to the cold blood traveling back up from the feet to the heart. The warm blood preheats the cold blood before it reaches the core, and the cold blood cools down the warm blood before it reaches the toes. This means the penguin's feet are kept at a temperature just slightly above freezing. They are warm enough so that the living tissue does not die and the feet do not stick to the ice, but they are cool enough so that they do not waste precious energy trying to keep their toes toasty. It also prevents them from melting the ice they stand on. If their feet were as warm as their bodies, They would sink into the ice over time, becoming trapped in a frozen grave. Instead, they stand on top of the world, perfectly balanced with the frost. As we reach the peak of winter, the storms become more frequent and more violent. This is the ultimate test of endurance. There are moments when the wind reaches such speeds that it picks up the top layer of snow and turns the world into a blinding wall of white. You cannot see your hand in front of your face. In these moments, the huddle is the only thing that matters. The fathers press their bodies together, thousands of them forming a single, giant organism. They take turns. Those on the outside of the circle take the brunt of the wind, their backs becoming covered in a thick layer of frost and snow. They look like statues carved from ice. Slowly, almost invisibly, the huddle moves. The birds on the cold windward side shuffle toward the center, while those who have been warmed in the middle move toward the edge to take their turn on guard duty. It is a selfless, mechanical rotation. There is no fighting for the best spot. If they fought, they would waste energy and the huddle would break. They move with a quiet, synchronized dignity. Even in the middle of a blizzard that could freeze a human being in minutes, the center of this huddle can reach temperatures of over 90 degrees. Sometimes, it gets so warm inside that you can see steam rising from the group, and the penguins have to break apart just to keep from overheating. It is one of the great ironies of the Antarctic. In the coldest place on Earth, the penguins' biggest challenge can sometimes be staying cool. As the weeks pass, the silence of the winter is broken only by the roar of the wind. The penguins do not call out to one another. They save their voices. They are waiting for something. They are waiting for a change in the light. Even though the sun is still below the horizon, there comes a day when the sky to the north begins to turn a very faint, bruised purple. It is not light yet, but it is the promise of light. For the fathers, this is the most dangerous time. This is when their energy is at its lowest. Their bodies are starting to break down protein because the fat is almost gone. They are hungry in a way that is difficult to describe. Their stomachs have shrunk, and their digestive systems have largely shut down. Yet, they remain focused. They can hear the tiny movements of the chicks inside the eggs. The life they have protected is almost ready to face the world. The endurance shown by these birds is a testament to the power of life. They have chosen to stay here, in the dark and the cold, while every other creature has fled or hidden away. They have taken the full force of the Antarctic winter on their shoulders, so that their children can have a head start. By hatching now, the chicks will grow up just as the summer food supply reaches its peak. But to get to that point, the fathers must survive the final, most brutal stretch of the season. They stand as silent guardians of the future. They are the only heartbeat for hundreds of miles. They are waiting for the sound of the ice breaking in the distance. They are waiting for the return of the females, who are currently hundreds of miles away, their bellies full of fish, racing back toward the colony. But most of all, they are waiting for that first golden sliver of the sun to touch the ice. Until then, they remain as they have been 4 months, motionless, frozen, and remarkably alive. The worst of the winter is passing, but the greatest challenge is still to come. The eggs are beginning to stir, and the fathers must hold on for just a few more days. The test of endurance is nearly over, but for the new generation, the story is only just beginning. The silence of the long, frozen night has been the only constant 4 months. For the fathers standing on the ice, the world has been nothing but shadow, wind, and the bone-chilling cold that we explored in their ultimate test of endurance. But now, something is changing. It is not the sun, not yet. The sun is still hiding below the horizon, but its presence is starting to be felt. A faint, ghostly blue light begins to touch the very edges of the world. It is a soft indigo, a deep violet that paints the snow in colors we have not seen for a long time. This is the first sign that the darkness is losing its grip. This is the first breath of spring. Down at the level of the ice, tucked away in the warm, dark folds of the father's skin, another miracle is happening. Small, tapping sounds are echoing inside the huddles. After 64 days of being cradled on the tops of their father's feet, the eggs are beginning to stir. A tiny beak, equipped with a sharp little point called an egg tooth, is chipping away at the thick shell. It is a slow and exhausting process for a creature that has never seen the light of day. But soon, the shell gives way. Out into the world comes a tiny, silver-grey chick. It is wet, it is wobbly, and it is incredibly small compared to the vastness of the Antarctic. In these first few seconds of life, the chick is in extreme danger. If it were to touch the ice for even a moment, the cold would claim it instantly. The father knows this. He keeps the chick tucked deep inside his brood pouch, a warm pocket of feathered skin that stays at a steady 35 degrees Celsius, even while the air outside is 40 degrees below zero. The chick takes its first breath of the cold Antarctic air, but it stays wrapped in the warmth of its father. It is a fragile life held in a balance of ice and fire. While the chicks are emerging, a new sound begins to carry over the frozen plains. It is not the howling of the wind or the cracking of the ice. It is a distant, rhythmic calling. The females are returning. For 2 months, they have been away at the ocean, hundreds of miles to the north, where the water is open and full of life. They have spent their time diving deep into the freezing waves, hunting for fish, squid, and krill. Now, they are coming back. They are heavy and full of food, their bellies distended with the precious cargo they are bringing back for their young. The arrival of the females transforms the colony. What was once a quiet, shivering huddle of exhausted males becomes a chaotic symphony of noise. Thousands of birds are calling out at once. To us, it sounds like a deafening roar of trumpeting and braying, but to a penguin, it is a conversation. Every mother must find her specific mate among thousands of identical-looking males. They do not have landmarks to guide them. The ice looks the same in every direction. There are no trees, no rocks, and no paths. They find each other through song. Each penguin has a voice that is as unique as a human fingerprint. They use a complex system of 2 different frequencies at the same time, creating a distinct beat that their partner can recognize even in a crowd of 5,000 birds. The mother walks through the colony, calling out her signature tune. She listens intently for a reply. Somewhere in the mass of huddling bodies, a father hears her. Despite his exhaustion, despite not eating for 4 months, he finds the strength to call back. When they finally stand face to face, the joy is palpable. They bow to each other, singing in unison, reaffirming a bond that has survived the harshest winter on the planet. But the reunion is quickly followed by a moment of high tension, the handoff. The father has been holding the egg, and now the chick, 4 months. He is protective and reluctant to let go. But the mother must take over. She has the food. The father must carefully roll the chick over from his feet to hers. They stand very close, chest to chest. The father gently lifts the fold of his skin, and for a brief second, the chick is exposed to the freezing air. It is a moment where life hangs by a thread. If the chick falls onto the ice, it has only seconds to live. If it stays out too long, its tiny heart will stop. With a delicate shuffle, the mother slides her feet under the chick and pulls her own warm pouch down over it. The transfer is complete, the chick is safe, and for the first time, it is fed. The mother produces a nutritious slurry of fish from her stomach, giving the chick the energy it needs to grow. Now that the mother has taken charge, the roles reverse entirely. The father's job is done for now, but his condition is dire. He has not eaten for over 120 days. He has survived the most brutal conditions on Earth by burning through his own body fat. He is now a shadow of the bird he was when he arrived in the autumn. He has lost nearly half of his body weight. His feathers are dusty with ice, and his movements are slow. He's thin and weak, but he must now face one final, incredible challenge. He must walk back to the sea. The journey to the ocean can be 50, 60, or even 80 miles long. The sea ice is at its maximum extent, and the open water is far away. The fathers begin a long, slow trek across the frozen landscape. Some walk, while others slide on their bellies to save energy. They move in long lines, a procession of survivors heading toward the life-giving water. They are driven by a singular, powerful instinct: hunger. They must reach the ocean to feed and regain their strength, so they can return in a few weeks with more food for their growing chicks. Back at the colony, we see the first moments of life for these new emperors. They are small and fluffy, covered in a thick layer of down that looks like a silver coat. They are completely dependent on the warmth of their parents' pouches. When the weather is calm, they might poke their heads out to look at the world. They see the blue light of the coming spring and the vast, white desert that will be their home. They are the only birds that begin their lives in such a place, at such a time. As the days pass, the blue glow on the horizon grows brighter and lasts longer. One morning, a sliver of the sun finally peaks above the edge of the world. It is the first sunrise in months. The light is golden and warm, casting long shadows across the ice. It is a moment of profound beauty, but it is also a signal of change. The cycle is moving into its next phase, but the danger for the emperor penguins is far from over. The very ice they stand on is their only home, and it is a home made of frozen water. As the sun returns and the temperatures slowly begin to rise, the ice begins to change. For thousands of years, this ice was a solid, reliable platform for the penguins to raise their young. But the world is warming. Recent years have shown us that the sea ice is becoming more fragile. In some parts of Antarctica, the ice is breaking up much earlier than it used to. If the ice disappears before the chicks have grown their waterproof feathers, they cannot survive in the water. They are not yet ready to swim. We are watching a world that is shifting under their feet. The emperors chose the winter because it offered them safety from predators like seals and whales, which cannot reach them across the vast stretches of ice. But the protection of the ice is now a gamble. The penguins are masters of endurance, but they are also tied to the rhythm of the seasons. If that rhythm is disrupted, the future of the colony is at stake. For now, the chicks are safe in the warmth of their mothers. They are growing quickly, their voices getting stronger every day. They are the miracle of the Antarctic, born in the dark and greeted by the first breath of spring. They represent the incredible resilience of life. But as the sun rises higher and the ice begins to groan and crack, the true test for the new generation is only just beginning. The frozen world they were born into is about to become a very different place, and every day is a race against the warming sun and the shifting sea. The sun has finally claimed its place high in the southern sky. It no longer just brushes the horizon with a cold, golden light. Now, it hangs there day and night, a constant eye watching over the white wilderness. For the emperor penguins, this should be a time of plenty. The long, brutal darkness of winter is a memory. But as the temperature climbs, the world beneath their feet begins to change. The very foundation of their lives is softening. This is the moment when the ice, which was once a solid and protective fortress, begins to show its fragility. As the warmth seeps into the frozen sea, the thick sheets of ice start to groan and shift. If you were standing there, you would hear it. It is a sound like distant thunder, a deep rumbling that vibrates through the soreness of your boots. Huge cracks, called leads, begin to zigzag across the landscape. To us, they might look like dark scars on a white face. To the penguin chicks, they are the first signs of a deadline they cannot ignore. These young penguins are in the middle of a transformation. Right now, they are covered in a thick, silver-grey down. It is wonderful for keeping out the freezing wind, acting like a warm woolen coat. But it has one fatal flaw: it is not waterproof. If a chick in this downy coat falls into the ocean, it will soak up the water like a sponge. The bird will become heavy, lose its body heat in minutes, and drown. To survive the coming weeks, Every single chick must trade its grey fluff for a suit of sleek, waterproof feathers. This is their adult armor, but growing a whole new set of feathers takes energy and, most importantly, time. The problem we are seeing now, in these very recent years of 2024 and 2025, is that time is running out faster than ever before. For millions of years, the sea ice stayed firm until the height of summer, giving the chicks until late December or January to finish their molt. But the rhythm of the planet is changing. The Antarctic sea ice is no longer the reliable platform it once was. Recent satellite data and field research have shown us something deeply concerning. The ice is breaking up weeks, sometimes even months, earlier than it used to. In parts of the Bellingshausen Sea and the Weddell Sea, scientists have watched through the eyes of satellites as entire colonies have faced disaster. When the sea ice vanishes too soon, the chicks are left standing on shrinking rafts of white. Eventually, the raft melts or tips, and the young birds, still covered in their fuzzy grey down, are cast into the waves. It is a heartbreaking reality of the modern Antarctic. In the 2023 and 2024 seasons, we saw record lows in sea ice extent. In some places, the ice simply failed to form properly at all, or it vanished before the chicks could ever hope to swim. But life is stubborn. These birds are not just passive victims of a changing world. They are masters of survival, and we are starting to see them fight back in fascinating ways. Some colonies are doing something almost unheard of in the history of their species. They are moving. Traditionally, emperor penguins only breed on the sea ice that is frozen to the coastline. They usually avoid the massive, towering ice shelves because the cliffs are too high to climb. However, new research shows that some groups are now attempting to climb up onto the permanent ice shelves, seeking higher ground where the ice won't melt out from under them. Imagine these birds, which are built for swimming and sliding, trying to navigate steep, icy slopes to find safety. It shows an incredible level of flexibility. They are trying to adapt to a world that is shifting beneath their feet. They are looking for a new kind of fortress, one that won't disappear when the sun gets too bright. This move to higher ground is a gamble. It takes more energy to reach, and it puts them further from their food in the ocean. But for the sake of the next generation, it is a risk they are willing to take. Back on the melting sea ice, the urgency is palpable. The parents are returning from the sea more frequently now, their bellies full of fish and squid. They need to feed the chicks as much as possible to fuel the growth of those vital adult feathers. You can see the chicks changing every day. Patches of sleek, dark feathers begin to appear on their flippers and their heads. They look a bit ragged, caught between two worlds, with tufts of grey fluff still clinging to their backs like messy mohawks. The colony is a noisy, chaotic place. The chicks are large now, nearly as tall as their parents, and they are hungry all the time. They chase their parents, whistling loudly for food. But the parents are starting to hold back. They are encouraging their young to be independent. The bond that held them together through the darkest winter is starting to fray, just like the ice. Soon, the parents will head back to the ocean for good, leaving the young ones to figure out the final steps on their own. As the final days of the nursery arrive, the ice is a mosaic of white slabs floating on a deep blue sea. The chicks stand at the edge, looking down into the water. For their whole lives, the ice has been their entire universe. The water was a place where their parents disappeared and returned from, a place of mystery and danger. Now, it is their future. They can feel the salt spray on their faces. They can hear the waves lapping against the frozen edge. The chicks that have successfully molted now look like miniature versions of the adults. Their new feathers are tightly packed, over 100 per square inch, creating a coat that is completely airtight and watertight. They spend hours preening, using their beaks to spread oil from a special gland at the base of their tail across their feathers. This oil is the final touch, the waterproofing that will save their lives. Then, the moment of truth arrives. It usually starts with one brave individual. A single fledgling walks to the very lip of the ice. It peers over the edge. It hesitates. It looks back at its companions, who are all huddled together, watching. Then, with a clumsy but determined hop, it clears the ledge. The first splash is a turning point. As the young penguin hits the water, it doesn't sink. It bobs to the surface like a cork. The waterproofing works. For a few seconds, it might thrash about, uncoordinated, trying to understand how to move in this new, fluid environment. But then, millions of years of evolution kick in. The bird tucks its head, gives a powerful thrust with its flippers, and suddenly, it is no longer a clumsy creature of the land. It becomes a silver streak, flying through the water. One by one, the others follow. It is a parade of courage. They dive into the cold, dark depths of the Southern Ocean, a place they will call home for the next several years. They will not return to the land or the ice to breed until they are 4 or 5 years old. Until then, the open ocean is their sanctuary. They carry with them the strength of their fathers, who stood 4 months in the freezing dark to keep them warm. They carry the sacrifice of their mothers, who traveled hundreds of miles through the winter gales to bring them food. These young penguins are the survivors of the deadliest winter on Earth. They have made it through the wind, the cold, and the thinning ice. As we watch them disappear into the waves, we see more than just birds. We see the resilience of life itself. The world they are entering is changing, and the challenges they will face in the coming years are greater than those faced by any generation before them. The sea ice may be a fragile fortress, but the spirit of the emperor is made of something much stronger. They are the heirs to a frozen kingdom that is slowly turning to water. But as they dive, they remind us that life has a way of finding a path even when the ground disappears. They are ready for the deep blue. They are ready for the world. And as the last of the grey fluff drifts away on the ocean currents, a new chapter begins in the great, icy heart of the South. The cycle of the Emperor continues, a testament to the power of endurance in the most extreme corner of our planet.